Hello everyone, welcome back to Vickie's Country Home. I'm so happy to see you today, and I'm going to encourage you that if you're not a subscriber, come along and subscribe. I've got some special stuff coming up. Today is one of those special things. Now, I haven't made any soap videos in a little while. And I've never made this before for you. I started making soaps, and I think I've shared this before. I started making them because my skin is sensitive to so many things. And most commercial products that I try, I have problems with. It's probably preservatives and artificial fragrances. So I had to stay away from those, and that was what got me started making soaps and body products and household products too. Because if you've ever had a sensitivity like that, you know how miserable it is. So when I started doing this, I'm doing it for me. I wasn't doing it for commercial gain, although I kind of got to selling it for a while. But honestly, I did this for myself so that I could have things that did not cause me problems, but also that were really nice to use. So this is one of those really nice to use things. Today, I'm going to make mango body butter, and there's a lot of body butter recipes out there. This one's pretty special, so I hope you stay along, and I hope you give it a try. Let's get started. Now, I hope this stays in focus. I've had some kind of nasty little comments saying you're out of focus. Well, I'm well aware. I'm not a pro. I never intended to make videos, so I'm learning as I go along, and this is the real me. I don't pretend to be anything I'm not. So if it's out of focus at any point, please just skip on by. I won't be offended. Okay, so to make the mango body butter, this has so many good ingredients in it. Every one of them are great skin-loving ingredients, and your skin, unless you're allergic, which is rare, your skin's gonna love these. And it's perfect timing because winter's coming, it tends to be drier, and also this is a wonderful gift. So if you know somebody that might need this, think of them. So of course, if it's mango body butter, and you can see I buy these things in bulk quantities. You don't have to, it doesn't take very much. But since I was making it to sell, I bought in quantity. But mango body butter is gonna start with mango butter. And this stuff is so wonderful. It's a solid butter, but it's still soft. You can still, make an indentation. And it doesn't have a really strong smell, but it's nice. And then, I'm sure most people have heard of this one. This is the Shea butter. And Shea butter is so good for so many things. That's my little one I've got to use up. And I use organic, unrefined. And I think that's important because it can be healing. So I like to keep it on hand just to put on our skins straight on when we have a problem. But in here, it just adds more to this wonderful butter. So this is the organic, unrefined shea butter. And then because we're just putting all kinds of good stuff in this. This is a heavy little bucket. This is natural cocoa butter. And if you've ever used cocoa butter, you know what I'm talking about. This stuff is so amazing. I'm going to need a tool to take that off. You really want to store any of your oils and butters away from light, away from heat, and airtight, because they will oxidize in the presence of air and these other things, and that will speed up their going rancid. Because all oils at some point pretty much are going to go rancid. So you like to pick long-lasting ones, and you like to store them properly. So, and I will show you that shortly. And then we need some lighter oil just to give it some texture. And we're going to use 100% pure avocado oil. And this is really nice for your skin also. And if you've ever heard of this one, you know that this is used in a lot of facial and body products, usually high-end, because it is a little bit pricey. I buy the large quantity, you can buy little bottles, and you don't need much. But this is Argan Oil. And oh my gosh, this stuff is lovely. And it could be used straight on your skin too. We're adding it to this beautiful body butter. And then I use vitamin E oil. This is an antioxidant, and it is good for your skin, but one of the biggest advantages for this kind of application is that it's an antioxidant, so it helps a little bit slow down the chance that these are going to become rancid. So I always like to add just a little vitamin E. And to keep this from being too greasy on your skin, and I don't think it is, but some people seem to think it's a little bit oily. But it's made from oils. You just have to use it properly. But to kind of keep that feel out, I use a little bit of arrowroot powder. You could use cornstarch too. I would go organic if you do that. But I use the arrowroot. And then we will scent this with essential oils, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So let me get started weighing out all these different oils, and I'll show you how this is put together. All right, I've weighed out my butters. I'm going to wait on the oils because I don't need those yet. First, I need to get my hard butters melted. I would advise you to use a double boiler. I don't, because I have such a low heat burner and I stand over it and watch it. But you don't want to overheat these. You just want to get them melted. So in my heavy bottom pot, I have put 8 ounces of mango butter. And I gotta tell you, the best part of making this is you get this on your hands while you're doing it, and it just melts so easy, and your hands feel amazing. Just like that. So there is 8 ounces of mango butter. And then to that, I have weighed out 4 ounces of the cocoa butter. Now this is, I had to get this bucket open, and believe me, it was tight. And I have to use this kind of tool. So if you have buckets, get yourself a tool. It saves your hands and your fingers. And cocoa butter is very hard in its natural state, but it melts really fast on your skin. And cocoa butter does wonderful things to your skin. So I have to get these 2 melted first because they are the harder oils. So that is 4 ounces. of the unrefined cocoa butter. Now I'm going to get these starting to melt. And then once they start to melt, I will add in, get kind of melted, I'll add in the shea butter. The reason I don't want to add that yet is shea butter has a tendency to get grainy if it gets overheated. And it's very soft. Again, another one, just melts into your skin wonderful. But it will get grainy, and that is one of the biggest things that people that work with it don't like. So I don't add it until these hard oils are nearly melted, and then the shea butter will melt very quickly. So let me get over there and get this melting. So for those of you that haven't seen this nifty stove I have a burner that can go from a high heat to, that's low, and then I can turn it even lower, and it can go all the way down to burning for 8 seconds and off for 52 seconds. So I like to use this burner because it really lets me get a low temperature for this. So you don't need a whole lot of heat. This will melt at body temperature, so you really don't need a whole lot to get it melted. But you don't want to walk away from this either, especially if you're like me and you're not using a double boiler, because that gives you a little more control. I need to stand here and make sure that I'm moving it around and not letting it get too hot. So I'm going to get this almost melted, and then I will bring you back so that I can show you when to add the shea butter. Alright, my dogs went nuts, so I had to walk away from this. So I turned the heat all the way off, and as you can tell, I can touch the sides of the pan. But even with that little bit of heat, it was enough to totally melt this. So now we're going to add the shea butter. And I'm going to warn you, this is a messy process, so wear an apron. Just know that you will probably have to clean up a little bit, but it's not too bad, and it's so worth it. Alright, so there's my shea butter, and I'm going to turn the heat back on really low so that it will melt. But again, I needed it to do this very slowly and a very low temperature. So I'm going to go ahead and get this melted, and then I'll bring you back. And one thing I do to help this melt more evenly and faster so it doesn't get the graininess is I cut up my butters into smaller pieces, more evenly sized, because the larger ones tend to take a long time and the oils around it get a little hotter. So I just take a knife and break those up into manageable pieces. And this has only been maybe 2 or 3 minutes. It doesn't take very long. It might take longer in a double boiler, but I don't really think it does. All of this melts fairly quickly. So it's almost done. I'm going to turn the heat totally off because I don't need it anymore. There's one little piece that's almost finished melting. Now I'm going to take this over and add the other oils. Alright, so I've got my melted oils here, and it's still warm, but again, I'm able to touch the pan, so it's not too hot. Now to this we're going to add, and I'm weighing this in grams because they're smaller amounts. So I'm going to add 55 grams of avocado oil. And I'm just putting this in one of the other containers because it doesn't matter. These are all together anyway. Okay, that's 55 grams. And I'm going to tear out my scale so it's back to 0. And I forgot to show you this one. This is jojoba oil. I'm pretty sure that's how it's spelled. And it's really a wax, but it's no smell and it's just really nice. So I'm going to add 20 grams of that. Now I should probably weigh it out into other separate containers, but you know what? I'm not gonna. It's just more to clean. Okay, 20 grams. And that went all over the place. This is why I said it's going to get messy. All right, and now I'm going to add 8 grams of the jojoba oil. And I keep this stuff really well sealed because it is a pricier ingredient. So I'm going to tear my scale back to 0. And we need 8 grams. And this is such a lovely oil. Well, I got 9. This is going to be a really special batch. It doesn't matter that much. But, okay, so we have all of our oils in there, except for, I don't even weigh the vitamin E out because I use such a small amount. I just kind of do a squirt of it. And that's less than a vitamin E capsule. It's a very small amount. Move that out of the way. Hopefully this is in focus. I really can't tell when I'm filming, so if it's blurry, I'm sorry. That's the way it is. I'm going to add all of those right into this. And you want to scrape it because all of these wonderful ingredients, you don't want to waste them on dishwasher. Dishwasher doesn't appreciate these wonderful things, but you will. So I am going to get as much out as possible. And now this is all melted, so I'm just going to stir it together well. Because the entire reason that we melted everything is so that they would completely combine. So now that we've got it all well combined, I'm going to just let this get cool. Depending on the time of year, I will even put it in the freezer for a short time, but I don't think I need to do that. I'm going to probably just put it outside for a few minutes, maybe half hour, because it's nice cool weather. But you could also put it in the refrigerator for a short time. You don't want to let it go too long though, because you don't want it to get really hard. You just want it to start to solidify. So I'm going to let this cool off, and then we'll come back when it's ready to make the body butter. Alright, I covered up the oils and set them outside, but it wasn't quite cool enough. It's in the 50s, but with our Nevada sun, it's still kind of warm. So it did not start to solidify. So I brought it in and put it in the refrigerator. And I don't know if you can see, but it's just starting to solidify right at the edges and the bottom, which is what we want for this. So now I'm going to put that inside my mixing bowl. Alright, I've got it into the mixing bowl. I'm going to put it on the mixer. And I'm going to get a paper plate to set this on while I'm working. Okay, now I've measured out 1 tablespoon of arrowroot powder. And sometimes you might need to add a little more. But that's what we're going to start with. And we're going to put on our wire whip. And this is going to probably be pretty noisy, so I will probably fast forward through some of this and come back in a little bit. Now you're going to want to scrape down the sides of the bowl several times during this process because you're starting out with very cold oil. And in this case, I'm putting it in a stainless steel bowl. And because of that, it will try and solidify, and you want all of those little bits to get blended well and not have any lumps in it. So you will scrape it down, and also your beater, because they're also metal, and I don't think I can show you, but on that one back there, that's actually still a lump that's down in there. So I want to get that mixed in. I want all these lumps out, and I want to get a really whipped up texture. So I'm going to let this go a little longer and we'll come back. So I'm not sure if you can see, but it's now reached this beautiful creamy white color and really light texture. Kind of like whipped cream, maybe a little bit firmer. So now I'm going to add my essential oil. Alright, I'm choosing to use Lavender Essential Oil, and it's a 1/2 ounce. So it's a pretty good amount. But any essential oil, you need to make sure and look at the MSDS safety sheet and find out what amount by percentage is safe to use in whatever you're making. Normally, I believe it's about 2% of the total weight of your oils, but that can vary also. You also want to make really sure of the kind of essential oil you're using. Some essential oils, especially any kind of citrus, can cause a photosensitive reaction. And if you put this on your skin and it has lime or lemon or orange or any of those, and you go out in the sun, it can actually blister you. So be very cautious. Essential oils are very powerful. And it really doesn't take much. And lavender is great because it smells good, and also because it's one of the safer essential oils for most people. Now, some people do become sensitized to it, so you still have to be careful, but it is one of the safer essential oils, and especially for something like this. All right, I believe it's done. Now I just want to show you how nice this is. So I'm just gonna, it's so light that it just came off like that. And my hands are pretty dry. I'm one of my worst customers. I make this stuff and I don't use it all the time. I should. But the key to using this is use very little. It really doesn't take much. And then rub it in well. It will be greasy at first, but within a very short time, your skin just soaks up all those wonderful oils. So you lose the oiliness really quickly. So now I'm going to put this in some containers, and I'll bring you right back so I can show you how I do that. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is I have washed and dried these containers. And what I like to use for this is plastic, and it's a double-walled. And the reason I use that is because I don't use any preservatives in this, and I don't use any emulsifiers other than the little bit of arrowroot powder. These will help it keep its texture and insulate it. So there are prettier containers out there, and you can use whatever you'd like. Be cautious with glass. When you're using this, they can be slippery and you don't want to drop it. But these are nice because they are insulated. So what I've done, washed them, dried them, and now this is 91% alcohol. And what I do is just lightly spray the inside of each container. And this is just to keep it kind of sanitized. You don't have to do that. I choose to, so that's just an optional thing. And then what I do is I have a cake decorating bag here, and I use a large one with a large star tip. And what I'm going to do is put the tip in there. And again, you don't have to do it this way. You could spoon it into the jars if you want. But I'm a cake decorator too, so I have the stuff. Why not use it? And it does help keep it nice and light. And then what I do is I'm going to fill the bag And if you're not familiar with that, you just kind of fold the top of the bag over so you can get down into the middle. And then you take whatever you're filling it, whether it's icing or body butter, and you scoop it in. So then when you pull the top of the bag back, the top is pretty clean. And then use your fingers to just push it down and squeeze it a little for any air bubbles. Push it down again. And then we're going to just twist the top and squeeze. Now you don't want to hold your hand on this too long because your body heat will help melt it. Let me change the angle of this so you can see me a little better. I think that's a little better. So what I've got is I'm getting my scale out because I normally weigh these out because I used to sell them. So I have it on ounces, and now I'm just going to start in the bottom of the jar. And that is 2.5 ounces. So that's what it looks like. I will be right back. All right, my battery was dying on me. So now I'm just going to do another one. Same thing. Two and a half ounces, and that fills it pretty much to the top. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these jars filled. Then we'll come back and I'll show you how much I got and what I do next. All right, I've got 7 of these jars filled, and these are considered a 4-ounce jar, just to give you an idea. But because of the whipped texture, it holds 2.5 ounces of this, but it's gonna last a long time. So I've got 7 jars filled, and I have a little bit left on the whip, and also some of it didn't quite get blended in the bottom, and it's hard, but that's okay. We can still use it for ourselves. Oh, and I have this wonderful stuff. Now I have to put it on my hands. We can still use that ourselves, so it's not wasted, and believe me, it won't be. And there's a little bit left in the bag too. So this is pretty much what you can expect. You could put just 2 ounces in each one. I chose to put 2.5, so that way they're nice and full. What I do next, because I would take these to craft fairs and have them sitting out on the table, you'd be surprised how many times somebody would pick up a jar, open it, and take some out to try it, even though there was a tester right beside it. So I got smart and I bought these inexpensive seals that basically you just put on top and press down. And then you put the lid on, and now it's sealed and safe until you're ready to give it and someone's really ready to use it, or you can all save it all for yourself if you really want to. But this is going to last quite a while. So I'm going to get the seals on all of these and get them all finished, and we'll come back in just a few minutes. Alright, I have all my little jars closed and the seal is on. And it firms down once you let it sit for a little bit. So now what I do is I have these labels printed up from when I was selling them. And they say 2 ounces, but I'm not selling them anymore, so I'm putting more in than it says, so I'm good. These will be gifts, and the people that will receive them have had this before and know what to expect. So now I just take it and put it on my jar. And I could do it a little bit straighter if I were paying attention. But there we go. Whipped mango body butter. And my company was Soaps to Love, and again, I'm not really doing that anymore. But I've already got these labels, so they're perfect. And I don't know if you can see that. So this is ready to go, and the people that have received these were some of my favorite customers, and they loved it. So this is what they will get as a gift. So I'm going to go ahead and put these all on, and it does, according to labeling laws, I had all of the ingredients listed in the proper order. So I'm going to get these all finished, but I just wanted to share with you, and this is my recipe that I use, and it's a very special recipe. These things are so good for your skin. If you go online and read the benefits of these different ingredients, you're going to just say, oh my gosh. They cost a little bit to buy, but you don't use that much, and look how many jars of this I got. So compared to the value for what it does, to me it's worth it to use the high quality ingredients that make all the difference. So thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and share. And hit the little notification bell so that you'll be notified on the next thing I do. And I'm thinking about some other things I might share with you, so it's almost time to be thinking about homemade gifts for Christmas. And there's some really wonderful things that you can make and share. So I'm just so glad that I was able to share this with you. God bless, and we'll talk again soon.